Hey guys, Ben Paints here, and today we are back for another Monday night social at Teamsport Bristol. And before we get into the video, if you would like to see the fastest lap of the session, then feel free to skip forward to 10 minutes and 10 seconds, as I do go into a little bit more detail this week and break the lap down a little bit more compared to what I usually do. If you guys do enjoy the video, then please could you hit the like button down below, and if you are new here, then could you please subscribe too, as I really do appreciate it, and it really does motivate me to make more videos in the future, which I am really happy with at the moment, as the channel is growing a lot faster than I ever thought it would. And I'd just like to say thank you to all of you that are already subscribed, as you really are helping me to keep the channel going. Also, if I do sound a little bit off in this video, I am really struggling from a small dose of hay fever, but you can see there our first lap was a 38.444, and we will revisit this lap later into the video, as I said, at 10 minutes and 10 seconds, and we'll compare this to the fastest lap to see what ways you really can improve on a lap in the course of a session. And right at the beginning, I really was trying to catch up to the couple of drivers that started ahead of me, as they weren't as quick as me, and I was finding better lines than them. I was finding a little bit more grip, and they're darting down the inside straight away on a really unorthodox overtake in the Mickey Mouse section, managing to creep down the inside, and the driver ahead sort of bailed out, and once more we're going up behind the driver in car number 21 and going straight down my favourite overtaking spot and overtaking them as well, and this left me with a bit of free air to go out and put in some consistent laps. Now, I found in this session that the track wasn't as grippy as I thought it was. The temperature was really high and it was really hot and sweaty in the seat. However, the grip just wasn't there, and I don't know if it was the tyres on the karts or the tyre pressures, but the kart didn't seem to be biting into the ground as well as it has done in the past when I have got a 36-second lap. But here I really was focusing on just trying to keep the pedals in moderation with one another. I was really trying to focus, especially on this top section, just to get as tight to the apexes as I could, as in other weeks I have gone a little bit too wide and there's definitely time to be made up. There was a little transition there, as the video did seem to be a little bit corrupted for some reason. We do cross the line with a 38.073, and I really was struggling on this bottom section at the beginning of the session, really to get the grip in the car. And going through the first double left corner, I really found the back of the car sliding out, as I was putting a bit too much power on with my right foot, and this meant that the kart wasn't as smooth as I wanted it to be, and this then led to lap times that really weren't as good as they had been in the past. Even last week they were at 37 dead, and here you can see we're at 38 dead, but we do come across the line here and once more we're even slower. So I really was struggling to actually get the kart in the correct parts of the track and really find the time, because I saw this small group of people up ahead. There was about 4 or 5 people, and I really wanted to catch up to them and try and challenge and push past them. As I've said many times before, when there is a target ahead of me to aim for, I find that my lap times decrease and my lap times come down, as I'm able to focus on the karts ahead rather than overthinking the corners. And when I do that, it usually means that I go wide, or I put a bit too much power going into the corner, or a bit too much brake, and this then leads to me having a slower lap time. You can see there 0.003 off my fastest lap, so we are extremely consistent, and this was reflected through the fact that my average lap time was in fact 38 dead, and you can see that these are the lap times that I am sticking around over and over again, lap after lap. You can see there as well, I did look up and look ahead, as I am catching this train of cars ahead of me, and when this happens I really do get a little bit excited, as it means that a few overtakes are going to happen as well. And here you can see I take a much better and cleaner line compared to drives ahead, and this means that I'm able to close the gap, and with that we finally break into the 37-second barrier as we get to 37.983, and straight away we're right up behind the group of drivers that is ahead of us, and there is in fact 5 different drivers that we are looking to overtake, and they all sort of scatter here, and it really was a little bit confusing for me, as I was unsure on what was actually going to happen, but they all started jostling for position, and this meant straight away that I was able to take a much better line on the driver ahead, and I was able to go down the inside following the big right-hander, and this then meant I was able to move on to the next 4 people that were ahead of me as well. And here we can see back into the 38-second mark because of the traffic ahead of us, and this was going to maintain around the same sort of times for the next few laps, because obviously there was a big group of people ahead of us. And you can see there the fellow in the white suit there just getting the hairpin a little bit wrong, and this meant that 3 people were able to overtake him, and this actually meant that one of my fellow YouTubers, OBS or Alex, did also get pushed wide there, and that meant I could glide past him as well. And then I was able to keep up with the 2 drivers ahead of me once more, and I really was trying to get, at this point, 1 overtake done per lap, as I didn't want to get stuck behind these drivers for too long, as it meant that my lap times weren't really going to improve, and this is something that I didn't want, as this was the last session of the evening. And here you can see the person in black getting a nice line, and so too does the person in car number 10, and they dive down the inside, and I thought I would follow through as well, as I didn't really want to get stuck behind this person, but looking for the inside line, looking for another way to overtake, but unfortunately I did get stuck behind, and checking back to see if the train was keeping up with me, which I think they were at this point in time. And here really trying to keep up with the person in the number 10 car, as they were looking to be a little bit quicker than the others, and therefore I wanted to get past the person in the black suit as quickly as possible. They clipped the side of the barriers, and this meant that they went a little bit slow into hairpin, and I did end up bumping them by taking the wrong line. I didn't realise they were going to turn in so quickly. Looking for the inside line here, as they do remain very wide, and luckily I was able to pull it off. I did go a little bit narrower into the hairpin sections just to make sure that they didn't try another dive bomb myself, but from this point the person in kart number 10 seemed to hold away, and therefore I really wanted to catch up to him and try and stay competitive, try and stay in the groove, as going through those other drivers really did disrupt my rhythm a little bit, and it made my lap times really come back down compared to where they were at 38 dead. I was into the 38.3, 38.4 region, and there checking back once more, but at this point I think I was maintaining a little bit of a gap to the people behind, and this meant that I would just solely focus on the person in car number 10 ahead of me. As I said, we were about halfway into the session now at this point, and I really wanted to keep up with some faster lap times, as I could feel throughout the whole evening that they were a little bit slower than normal. And there straight away, as the carts are getting warmed up, the tyres are getting warmed up, we come straight down to 37.739, and this is detriment once again to a marker being ahead of me that I could follow and really try and push myself to keep up with them. And as I said, I really had started to settle into the car at this point, and my lap times did start to come down compared to where they were. As you can see, 37.7 is a lot better than 38.5. It's almost a second quicker, which is actually quite a lot of time on a track as small as this. And here once more you can see that the driver ahead is getting closer and closer, and that they are filling up the screen more and more as I come in with another 37.7 second lap. And that really is proof that I was focusing on the person ahead. However, I did keep seeing a person in the corner of my eye, and I thought they were fast enough to overtake me. However, when I looked back, there didn't seem to be anyone there, and I was really confused about that, as I don't know what happened, and this meant that I lost a little bit of time to the person ahead, and therefore I did have to make that back up again. But yeah, that's something that really did confuse me, as I looked behind and there wasn't anyone there, but when I was looking and going around the corner, there did seem to be someone almost bumping me. So once again, I got back into my rhythm pretty quickly. I was able to get a quite clean sector for the first part of the lap, and they're really swinging the cart in and getting a really good run up onto the ramp, as I was just adjusting my gloves there, because for some reason the Velcro came undone on both hands. And I think you'll see that in the next few laps. I was unable to really just do them up without almost spinning out from the cart, moving left and right so much, juddering up the ramp without my hands on the wheel. And here we crossed the line once again for a 37.662. So even despite this small distraction of my gloves, we're able to put in a very fast lap time, my fastest of the session so far. And this meant that I really was starting to close the gap up to the person ahead, getting a way better exit onto the ramp compared to them, as they really were bogging down from sliding a bit too much. And this was also the same on the next two hairpins. They really were sliding a little bit more than me, and I was able to have a smoother application of the throttle, and this meant I was able to really close up on them. However, as we move around the last corner of the lap, we do come across here, and this is the start of my fastest lap, and I've compared it to my slowest lap, which was in fact my first lap. And here you can see straight away I freeze framed it, but both laps getting as close as I can to the apex and really trying to minimize the track length before going into the second and third corner, trying to get as tight as possible to the apex in order once again to minimize the track. And here on the floor I do freeze it again. This is usually where I tend to brake, and I don't slam my foot all the way down. As you can see here, the control on the pedals has meant in my fastest lap I was able to go almost sideways into the corner, and I wasn't sliding, but it was just a controlled turn compared to the slower lap where I didn't have as good drive out of the corner, and there really getting as close once again to the barriers on all of these sections, swinging to the left before going through the second hairpin in order to maximise my exit speed. And here I've slowed it down, going into the middle of the corner rather than the apex, and really using both pedals really to slow the kart down and control it as much as possible, as you don't want to slide there at all. And that there was my fastest lap of the session, and that led to a 37.575 second lap. And this also led to the driver ahead of me sort of realising that I was faster than them, and they did wave me through in order to try and maintain the speed and keep the momentum going, as we really did try to take the same sort of lines here. And I was struggling on that first hairpin, whether I was braking a little bit too much and it was causing the car to bog down a little bit more than it should have, and therefore I didn't have as good a run going into the second one, and we crossed the line once again with a 38-second dead, as we have done for pretty much 90% of the session. But obviously that was due to the fact that I did overtake the person ahead of me. And here once more, just as I mentioned in my fastest lap, just trying to get the car almost at a tangent to the corner, as you really want to be hitting the accelerator and have the full throttle maxed out as you are hitting the apex rather than after it, since this does give you a way better drive up the ramp. Here I did get a little bit overzealous on the exit of the second hairpin by hitting the ramp, and there once more just really trying to be as smooth as possible through the last corner. And there once more of a 37.954, not as quick as my fastest lap, and obviously this probably was due to me being on my own, trying to carve my own path rather than following a person ahead of me. As I said before, this really does benefit me in following someone else and just sort of honing in on their bumper, almost like an aggressive bird just trying to stalk down their prey. But again, just trying to be as tidy as possible and stick to all the lines that I know best, even with the kart sliding around a little bit more than it should have. And we go across the line once more with a 37.689, so the lap times are coming down a lot more compared to earlier. However, they still aren't as good as they could be. And here I get a couple of nudges in the back, so I was aware that there was a driver behind me looking to go past. However, I did want to try and stay ahead and make a gap if I could and put in some quicker lap times. However, I don't think that this was the case, and you'll see later into the session that I do actually move to the side and let them pass, even though it was near the end, as I did want to try and focus on a driver that was faster than me, especially if they were nudging me to hurry up. And there, literally an identical lap other than 1,000th of a second, I was 1,000th quicker. And here really trying to hook up the bottom section, trying to stay as tidy as possible and gain as good a line as I can, and maximising the track once more, getting as tight to the apexes as I dare without touching the corner. There obviously was a completely poor example, as I said it, as I was completely wide from the apex. And there once more I look back here, and as I said earlier, I did let the driver behind me go past, and I did try to zone in behind them as they thanked me, and I wanted to stay behind the person in kart number 15 and really try and see what lines they were taking, as they are a heavier driver than me. So as I've said before, I'm used to following the lines of the lighter drivers and the younger drivers, as they're usually faster than me. However, this person getting it a little bit wrong and a bit frustrated with themselves, but they were still managing to pull ahead of me, so I wouldn't feel too disheartened if I were them. I noticed that they did take quite a wide line going into the corners rather than a more narrow line, which I'm used to taking, and maybe this is something that I should try in the next session that I go down to, and here really trying to stick as close as I can to them, but we've come across the line with a 37.860 for the last lap of the session. It was a bit of a slower session tonight, however I do hope that you still enjoyed it regardless, and I hope that you were able to learn something from the breakdown of the lap, as I will do another video soon breaking down a faster lap even more. I am going to another event very soon, so I hope that you look out for that video as it will arrive very shortly. And if you have enjoyed the video, please could you leave a like and subscribe for more in the future. I'll catch you guys in the next one, and take care.